You know, she's seen that I have very oily hands. She said, I also suffer from oily hand syndrome, and I'm becoming a little frustrated with slippery grips. I'm curious as to which fountain pens would be more pleasurable to write with for those with oily hands. I hope to own a Visconti Homo Sapiens Dark Age one day, and I know it would be bloody beaut to write with. But until then, any suggestions? All price range options would be great. Okay, so basically it's not so much like which ones are the best, it's more about avoiding the ones that are the most troublesome for oily-handed folk like us. I have very oily fingers. It just is part of who I am, and I embrace that. Just a naturally very oily person. So the things that you really kind of want to avoid when you have really oily fingers is slick metal grips. Some people really like slick metal grips because it's kind of cool to the touch. They like the way that it feels, and I totally get that. But for me, I can use them in short stints, but for long writing sessions, it ends up kind of causing some trouble with my hand, because the longer I write, the more oil kind of builds up, and it tends to get kind of slick and slippery, which means I have to grasp it firmer, which can then kind of lock up my hand a little bit. So I tend to like pens with slightly larger grip sections, pens that have you know, certain materials that are made from the grip, and then certain shapes of the grip. So I don't have an extensive list for you here today, but I'll show you a few of the ones that I've worked with that are really good. So kind of starting on the lower range, the Lamy Safari in charcoal is good because it's not only is it plastic, which is kind of better in general, but some of the other Lamy Safaris are slick plastic, which is not as bad as metal, but can still slip a little bit. But this charcoal has a little bit of texture to it. And I'm going to zoom in for a few minutes here while I explain through some of these pens. You're going to see my how badly I need to shave here, so sorry about that. But so you can see it's got kind of a matte texture to it, and it's not like a bumpy texture, but it's got more of a grip to it than all the other Safaris do. And it's the dark lilac pen that's going to be coming out. Finally, the purple Safari is going to have this same texture as well. I just don't have that one yet to show you. So this is definitely one that you could consider a little bit on the lower end price range. If you want to move up a little bit, the Lamy Studio, which normally I say the Studio grip is one of the worst because it is usually slick metal and it tapers too. So it just is really hard to hold on to. But the stainless steel one, which we affectionately call around here the fish pen because it kind of looks like fish scales when it's like shiny and whatnot. It's like a brushed stainless steel. But it has a rubberized grip. So that helps tremendously to give you a good grip. So the Studio is one of the best and one of the worst grip pens for those with oily hands right there. So I would urge you to look at that. This is actually an old limited edition, whoa, camera's wigging out on me. An old limited edition Edison Nouveau Premier, the first limited edition we ever did in this blue swirl ebonite. And the reason that I'm showing this to you is not just to tease because it's not available anymore and hasn't been for, geez, has it been 5 years? Holy crap, I'm getting old. Anyway, it is ebonite. And ebonite is a slightly porous material. I forget the exact fancy scientific word that's used for it, like hygromatic or hygro something, whatever. But it is slightly porous, so it's basically made of hard rubber, and as you're writing with it, it kind of absorbs the oil in your hands. So it gives a really kind of a firm grip. Now, not just this pen, but any ebonite pen is going to have that hygrostatic, something, okay, sorry, it's gonna bug me. I think it's hygrostatic. I don't know, you can tell me in the comments if I'm wrong. But anyway, any ebonite pen is gonna have those properties, which is really good. And that's also kind of what you have going on in your dream pen that you have here, the Homo Sapiens. That is the same kind of situation. It's made of volcanic rock, so it's not just straight up volcanic rock because that's too porous, and the ink would seep out of the pen basically. But if you have like this material, they basically pound up the volcanic rock and then cast it into like a resin, so it's kind of the best of both worlds. You get the durability and flexibility of the resin, the hardness and the porous nature of the volcano rock. But it's got the same kind of thing going on as the ebonite. A very similar feel to ebonite, actually, maybe slightly rougher, a little more porous, but it has the same properties going on there where it'll absorb the moisture in your fingers. So it's one of the better ones for that. And then also another good one I think is the Lamy 2000. I really like this one. It's a macrolon and also stainless steel grip, but it's brushed. So it gives you, it is a metal grip, but because it's brushed, it gives you a really good kind of grip on it. And it's got the taper too. So it can be, debatable as to whether this one is the best one for most people, but I like it a lot. I use it with no issue whatsoever. But in general, like any pen that you're using that has a plastic or resin grip on it is gonna be pretty darn good. And I think when you have a slippery situation going on, getting something with a slightly bigger grip section is good. And one of the better ways that you can check that out is if you go to our Pen Plaza tool on gouletpens.com. You can see how well the grips compare to each other. So if you have a particular pen that you like the grip, you want something like it or bigger, go to the Pen Plaza. You can do a drop down. We have images that are all standardized for size, so you can see how one grip compares to another very literally. So that's kind of cool feature that we have there.